Good morning and welcome back to Daily Devos. My name is Pastor Jonathan with Robertsdale UMC, and I have been away for a week on vacation, taking some Sabbath time with my family. We had a great time and we really valued the time that we got to spend together, but it is also great to be back. So this morning I started with my accountability group, my Wesleyan band meeting, which I've talked about in a previous video. And one of the things I did on vacation, I want to share with you. And this is going to be a multiple part series. I have no idea how many parts because I'm just going to take it a day at a time. But I took advantage of our time away to just kind of do some soul searching, to be honest with myself, to be honest with God, to explore more about myself and who He created me to be. And I realized that this whole season of life that we're in right now, which doesn't even have the capacity. It straight up has been producing a lot of anxiety and stress and chaos, right? But if we miss this opportunity that none of us planned or expected, to realize and take time to pull back and discover who God really created us to be, to remove all the distractions as part of that self-discovery or to help us with that self-discovery, then we could be missing the greatest gift that this season has to offer. So, my dad passed away on April 19th, that weekend. And one of the books that I found on his shelf is called Self to Lose, Self to Find by Marilyn Vancil. I think that's how you say her name. I really don't know. And it's a book about personality types. My dad had a master's of psychology, so he had a lot of psychology books, a lot of personality type books. He worked with businesses, and he was really big into the Myers-Briggs personality type. But there's a personality type that has gotten a lot more attention in recent years, and that has been the Enneagram. Maybe you've heard of the Enneagram, but this book it's a Christian book. It's written by a Christian spiritual director on the different personality types of the Enneagram. And the argument that she makes in the book is that we misinterpret what Jesus says when He says that to follow Him or to be His disciple, to come after Him, we must deny ourselves daily, take up our cross, and follow Him. And we confuse that to mean that we must completely crucify ourselves so there is no personality or self left, only Jesus, only God. So none of us, all of Him. When really the message of the New Testament in Jesus and in the other books of the New Testament is that there is a false self that we are supposed to die to, a self that is ruled by sin and death, a self that is ruled by a nature that is in rebellion against God. The true self is the nature in which God created us in the beginning. So I want to share a thought for today, and she actually quotes a book by Thomas Keating called The Human Condition, Contemplation and Transformation. And she says that in that book, Thomas Keating identifies three essential biological needs of all creatures. And the three essential needs are in pairs. The first pair is security and survival. Every creature needs security and survival. I want you to think about your own need for security and survival and how those needs are being pushed right now, how those buttons are being triggered and pushed right now in this season of your life. The second need is the category of power and control. We actually all need, to a degree, a level of power and control. And then the third is the need for affection and esteem. So there are the three categories again, highlighted by Thomas Keating. Security and survival, power and control, affection and esteem. And she kind of explains in her book how we tend to go after those things or how those buttons tend to get pushed. When I'm irritated that the friendly cashier is chatting with the person in front of me, I want power and control. When I change my clothes 5 times before heading out the door, I want affection and esteem. When I obsess over unexplained body pains, I need survival and security, right? So these buttons get pushed in all kinds of ways. And I wonder if you could take an honest moment to think about how those buttons get pushed in your life. How do those needs get triggered? And here's the case that she makes 2 pages later. So what I just shared was on page 38 of her book, and now I'm going to page 41, just to give citation where it's needed. She says the profound fact is that God created every creature with these needs, but if you look at the creation of humanity in the very beginning of the Bible, the book of Genesis, you find that God Himself provides for those needs. Think about it. After He created all the marvelous wonders of the universe, He created humans and He declared that we were very good. Affection, affirmation, and esteem. In fact, what happened at Jesus' baptism before He was launched into His earthly ministry the Holy Spirit descended on him in the form of a dove, and a voice was heard from heaven, and it said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." Affirmation, affection, and esteem, right? Then in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, God says to the humans, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." God gave us power and control. He created us with that need, and then he immediately sought to meet that need. And then the third, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food." He provided for our need of security and survival. So here's the word that I came to share with you today. Our true self has the same needs that our false self sees and feels and senses. The difference is our true self knows that God himself meets those needs and seeks those needs to be met in him. Our false self runs to old patterns of self-preserving, self-protecting, self-absorbed, self-centered behaviors to try to get those needs met apart from God. So I invite you with me today to do some soul searching and ask yourself, how have I been trying to meet my needs of affection and esteem? How have I been trying to meet my own needs of security and survival? And how have I been trying to attain for my own self apart from God power and control? And can we start to put off those old patterns of trying to meet those needs in certain ways apart from God? And today, can we commit to letting God meet those needs as he always designed us to experience? That we have a God and we're in a relationship with a God who created those needs so that he could meet them, because we're designed to be in relationship with him. I hope this encourages you today. I hope this sheds light. It certainly is for me as I begin to do this exploring work in my own soul and in my own life, and how I relate to myself and how I relate to God, but also how I relate to my family and those around me. So this is Pastor Jonathan. God bless you today as you continue to answer these questions with the Lord. Grace and peace.